Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Freca. It's a sunny but slightly blustery day here on March 11th, year of our Lord 2025. And Kenny on the board, it's a great day to be alive, isn't it?
Every day is a great day to be alive. Another day to serve God.
That's right, Kenny on the board. You're exactly right. And we have a special feature today. Do you know what the special feature is, Kenny on the board?
We have a special feature?
Yes, a special feature.
He's got some features, all right.
Yeah, okay. So, well, we have Mac Daddy Del Norte also on the mic today. Mac Daddy, how you doing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We got all the microphones working.
All
it's
right.
onward and upward at KELP Radio, 1590 AM in El Paso. I do congratulate all of our listeners who are feeding their mind and feeding their soul through amplitude modulation on 1590 AM, through frequency modulation at what is it, Mac Daddy Del Norte? FM station. What's our frequency?
89.3.
But close. That's Las Cruces, yes, and
95.9.
95.9, just or streaming worldwide at kelpradio.com. And we have a special guest today, and I know that Kenny on the board knows why she's special, but Mac Daddy Del Norte, do you know why our guest today is special?
Not at all, Andy.
Yeah, not at all. Well, she is we are faith-based radio, so we believe that she is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. But she is also, she's into politics.
Oh, nice.
Politics. City politics. Yeah, so at the
That can be a touchy subject.
Oh, it could be very touchy. We're going to get into it today because, as we say at the beginning of 915 Talk, the world is looking at El Paso. What will we say to the world? Or what are we going to say to each other here in El Paso? You know, I think for a lot of our listeners, this is something I've said so many times. We know what's happening nationally. We know everything that's happening nationally, but very little of what's happening locally. So let's educate ourselves. Let's get to know about El Paso. What do you say, Kenny, on the board?
I think that is a great idea.
So she's special for other reasons, too. She's a chef. Did you hear that?
And you didn't have her come in to do lunch for us?
See, I knew you were going to say that, Kenny, on the board. Come on.
Yeah, come on, look.
No.
I got this stomach. You should figure that out.
Just because someone's a chef doesn't mean they come in the radio station for that, Kenny, on the board.
Okay.
Come on. She's an entrepreneur. She pursued her culinary career at one point in Italy. She's now a public servant. She's, most importantly, a wife and mother of 3.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. So she's the El Paso District 1 representative.
Yes.
Do you know what District 1 is, Kenny, on the board?
District 1? It's the one before District 2.
Come on. What part of town is that? Do you know Mac Daddy Del Norte? Do you know what part of town District 1 is?
No, actually, I was asked today, do you know what your district is? I was like, I didn't even know I had a district.
See,
He just wants Taco Bell in his district. That's all he cares
this
about.
is why you guys work at the radio station, so you can know what city you're in. Come on. District 1. So we're going to find out what that is. But wherever you are, whether you're in Fabens, Oro Grande, wherever you are in the reach of my voice, maybe you're in beautiful Old Mesilla, let's put our hands together and give a very warm borderland welcome to the one, the only, Representative Alejandra Chavez.
Oh, sorry.
Representative Chavez, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is fun. We're going to learn about the city. As you just learned, Kenny on the board and Mac Daddy Del Norte don't even know that El Paso has districts. So isn't that sad for you to hear as someone who's giving your life as a public servant that the people of the city don't even know about their districts?
It is very sad, but it is very common. So I don't want them to feel bad.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well said, well said. So District 1 is kind of the high-end district. It's West Side. Yeah, right? And so I was actually looking at a map today. It's maybe the biggest district in El Paso, second biggest. It's pretty big. It's that whole
It's
part
very,
of town.
very widespread. That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's about 100,000 people that live in District 1.
100,000 people. So you have your hands full. So at the beginning of this program, what we say is the world is looking at El Paso. What will we say to the world? Now, you went to college in Austin at University of Texas, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you did a little bit of culinary study. Is that right, in Italy?
Yes.
Where at in Italy?
Well, I was in Florence for 6 months.
Okay.
That's my first culinary school. Then I went up north to a second culinary school, and then I worked in a restaurant somewhere in central Italy,
Wow, that sounds
close
really
to Assisi.
really horrible. but but
But here I am.
yes, exactly. So what is one thing that people around America, around Texas, or even around the world don't know about El Paso that you want them to know?
Oh my goodness. There's so much to know about El Paso, right? So we must change the narrative that people speak about El Paso, because we are a friendly city, we are a loving city.
Okay.
We are a family-oriented city. We have strong roots in our community, and we are a city that welcomes many different kinds of people, including a strong military base and many others. We are a binational community. We
Yeah.
border the state of New Mexico. There are so many facets to El Paso that I think people who come to visit or come to live here for whatever reason come to love.
Oh man, I love it. I know that so I grew up in Ohio, and when my family found out that I was moving to El Paso, they thought that the population of El Paso was about 50,000 people. They thought it was much smaller than it actually is. I mean, we're close to 800,000 from what I understand, but there is so much about this city that people do not know. Now, you were from El Paso, you grew up here, you started a successful restaurant business and catering. I have all that right?
That is right, Andy.
Yeah. So AI did not do me wrong. I like, but then you decided to go become a public servant.
Yes.
Become a District 1 representative. Why did you decide to make that choice? Did you really dislike running a restaurant, or what was going on?
I think public service is part of my life always, right? So I want to go back a little bit, but before I became an entrepreneur, before I went to culinary school, before I went to college, I went to Loretto Academy for 12 years of
Okay.
my life. So I'm a very values-based person. I
Right.
have a strong faith.
Right.
And I learned service from a young age from my parents, right? I grew up in a very loving home with my parents and my siblings, and I was learned to serve others. That has just been a part of my life always.
Right. Yeah, I love it, and I think that's a great segue. I was planning to ask this question later on in our conversation, but with the El Paso Times article, you said, "I believe leadership isn't just making decisions or plans, but about setting a culture driven by core values where everyone aligns to achieve a shared mission." So, what are the core values in your leadership here in the city?
Well, integrity is extremely important. People have to believe you for whatever you tell them you're going to do. You have to have integrity. You can't
Right.
just say something to say it. You have to have integrity.
Right.
Honesty aligns right there with it. You have to be an honest person. I know sometimes people think politicians can't be honest. You
Yeah.
know, it's misleading a little
Right.
bit to be in politics and talk about honesty sometimes. Not politicians are concerning traffic flow, right? Or maybe their
We're
street.
definitely going to talk about that.
Yes. Or maybe something's wrong with their street or other specific conditions, that
Yeah.
they're concerned about. So those are the conversations that I would have with them at the front door.
Okay. Yeah. It is interesting. Just a reminder to our audience, not only are we on the radio and the internet, but we're also on YouTube Live right now and Facebook Live. You can just look for KEOP Radio on either of those platforms. But if you have a question for Representative Chavez, you can put that in the comment section, and we will get to any of those that we feel led to get to. Can't promise to get to all of them. But that was actually the questions we were getting today had a lot to do with traffic flow. And it's interesting because as a city, so much of our situation is determined not by us as the people. That's the way I feel. It's determined by the federal government because we're a border town. We have I-10 going through the city, which is so central to our lives. But specifically with traffic flow, with that whole conversation, what can be done really? And what say do we have in it as the people of El Paso?
Yeah, so you touched on a really good point because there's always different people contributing to this issue, right? And so there's TxDOT, which I understand you recently had a conversation with, and they're doing a lot of renovation projects, across the city of El Paso, but specifically in District 1, they're doing a lot on I-10. And I know that it's a big inconvenience to people because right now, for the time being, you have to plan ahead if you want to get to work or if you want to take your kids to school. You have to really see, how traffic flow is going to impact the quality of your life, your daily commute. And then the city of El Paso focuses on, our city streets. And many times those are also being worked on. And how those are planned out also affects, your daily life and your commutes. So in conjunction with TxDOT and the city of El Paso, we have to communicate effectively to people so that we don't completely disrupt their daily lives.
Yeah, 100%. We had TxDOT on yesterday, and they were talking about how this whole section of I-10, well, in your district,
Yes,
that has been
I'm the lucky one.
Yeah, that's been such a sore spot for so long. Will be finished this fall, but then they gave us very sad news. Very sad news that then I believe it's from, I hope I got this right, from Vinton to the New Mexico line will start after that, and that's a 3-year project.
Yeah.
And
they're going to be expanding Artcraft in District 1,
Right.
which is going to create, another havoc.
Right.
So more to come.
So
Dot.
So yes, exactly. So what's going on with Artcraft? Because we did get a question specific to that.
Artcraft is going to be going through a renovation, and it's going to be great when it's done because we have a lot of traffic coming in from New Mexico.
Right.
And we really need to expand Artcraft and make it more accessible for people to get on the freeway and to other places.
There's a lot of traffic going right up to that stoplight, right?
Yeah, I mean, that whole area is expanding. So District 1 is booming. There's a lot of growth in District 1, both residential and commercial.
Yeah, so with that, how do we keep the city from just becoming urban sprawl and maintain a sense of community?
That's a great question. Kenny?
Kenny on the board, do you have the answer to that?
I am not that intelligent.
Okay, yeah, that's why we have Representative Chavez in the studio.
I think there's a mixture of things, right? So there's a lot of talk on promoting this idea of infill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Filling in buildings that have been vacant for a while and making sure that we make the proper use of those buildings so that we're not, doing all of this urban sprawl.
Right.
That's one. Another talking point that people like a lot is how do you become a more walkable city? So
Yes.
promoting this idea of neighborhoods where you can actually walk to, did I hear Taco Bell somewhere? Does someone want?
Yes. No, he actually got it wrong.
Oh,
It
I'm
was
sorry.
McDonald's.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yes, my bad.
Yeah.
Right. So you become this walkable city so you can get to your local McDonald's
Yes,
without
yeah.
having to jump in your car.
Exactly. That's the healthy way of doing it. I mean, being walkable is interesting because you did some training. You were in Italy for a while, and the reason we love going to Europe on vacation or even Disney World is because we can walk around and see so many interesting things.
Yes.
But then when we're in our hometown, we have to get in our car to go anywhere. And so I would just make 915 talk if I could about making cities walkable, but then nobody would listen. I feel like I'm the only one who cares.
And there are some areas that are a little bit like that, and people will deliberately buy homes in those areas because it's fun, right? To not have to jump in your car, and maybe on the weekend you could walk to the nearby restaurant or wherever you might need to go,
right,
pick up some things, have dinner, and then walk back home. I mean, it promotes a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. And my daughter and son-in-law live in your district, and they have a baby on the way, so it's super important to me that we get District 1 just right. I'm central, so that's a different conversation, but love that you're thinking that way. So you're saying we can use maybe vacant buildings and repurpose them? Is that like kind of a lot of the idea there?
Yeah, and when that happens, either for people that are doing specific projects or whatever, sometimes in some cases, the city incentivizes people to fill these buildings, with different projects, and
Right.
and rightly so that we don't continue expanding our resources to the outskirts of the city.
Right. Okay. So you yourself are an entrepreneur. You have a business background. We need to attract more business to El Paso.
Yes.
100%. We're going to get into the whole property tax conversation because we can't talk about El Paso without talking about property taxes.
Yes.
But one of the questions that was sent to me today was actually one of your constituents, and what she asked was essentially with bringing in big chain stores or franchises, how do we protect and promote small business, the local businesses?
Right. So I was a small to medium-sized business owner for over 20 years in the city of El Paso. So I have a very, very special place in my heart for small businesses. My business was a restaurant. I had a restaurant on North Mesa Street for over 20 years. And so I always say local restaurants are the heartbeat to a community. And of course, through the pandemic, when the pandemic hit the restaurant industry extremely hard, there was this big push for support local, right? So every time anything was posted, it was always hashtag support local. So, I coincide with her. I think it's going to be a mixture of two different things because we need so much economic development for the tax reason that we can get into right now, Andy.
Right.
It's going to be, two different types of big pushes. One is going to be for bigger businesses to establish themselves here just because they can really drive economic growth. But at the same time, how do you build small businesses so that they can become more successful? And what kind of support do they need? And what does that look like on our end? So like, for example, District 1, we're going to be having a small business workshop for small businesses, not only in District 1. I mean, we're going to extend the invitation to everybody, but, specifically to District 1 so that we can lend that kind of support. And I can talk all about what that looks like to me.
Yeah, I would love to get into that. We're about to go into a break, so we'll talk about that after the break. But also on Facebook Live, Jackie says, communication is key. Joseph writes, hook 'em horns.
Yeah, hook 'em.
Did I say that right?
That's right,
yeah.
hook 'em.
So we are, again, for those of you who are just joining us, with Representative Alejandra Chavez, District 1 rep here in El Paso. We're talking all things El Paso. If you have questions for her, just jump on that KELP radio Facebook Live, put it in the comment section. We'll get to as many of those as we can. Shout out to Element 7 before we go into break. We're playing with some new cameras today to hopefully improve our video experience for our listeners. So you can find them at element7.xyz. Especially if you have a small business and you're looking to make maybe a local commercial. I saw they were even doing on their website, they were doing one for Whataburger, but they also do just a lot of great video production. I know them personally, great people. Element7.xyz. Check them out. Really appreciate their help today as we hopefully improve the video experience for 915 Talk. Again, we're with Representative Alejandra Chavez, District 1 rep here in El Paso. When we get back from break, we're going to talk more about small business here in the city. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported. If you believe that local Christian talk radio is important to our community, please take a moment to prayerfully consider taking part. For all donation options, including secure online giving, visit KELPradio.com and click on the Cornerstone Broadcasting link. Let's reach our neighbors in the borderland together.
915.
Testify.
I used to be a very angry person at the world, being young, having kids, having a wife, being a father, just meeting those expectations that the world puts on you. It's not about the world, it's about, your relationship with God. And I didn't realize that until I was older, and because I was living a life that I shouldn't have been living a sinful life, living for the flesh instead of living for God. I was hanging around people I probably shouldn't have hung around with, drinking, going out to parties and coming home like 2, 3 in the morning. There was one day that I completely broke down. My son was asking me like, Dad, how come you're like this? How come you're always mad? And yeah, that day I did end up bringing out my Bible. I just broke down and started crying, because I felt the way Paul felt. Read your Bible, guys. If you don't know what to read, go into Proverbs, go into Psalms. God, He's protected me in so many different ways. He's the reason why I'm here. I'm trying to help other people reach God. He could truly change your life. My name is Miguel Ipave. I'm from El Paso. And if Jesus did this for me, I know He could definitely do it for you.
And they overcame Him by the blood of the Lamb
and by the word of their testimony.
KELPradio.com. listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Freca. Today we are with El Paso District 1 Representative Alejandra Chavez, just talking about all things El Paso. And before we went into break, I promised that we would talk a little bit more about small business in El Paso. But before we do that, I want to talk about what we were talking about during the break, because our listeners didn't hear about what we were saying, but we were talking about the whole issue of trust. And I think a lot of people do not engage with local government because they don't trust the government, or they don't believe that their voice is heard. What is your view on that, and what can be done to change that?
Yeah. Andy, I think this is a huge, huge issue, and something that I want to address head on. How do you change that? You change it by being accessible to people.
Okay.
When you're a politician and you're constantly hiding from the public, that's an issue, right? People are like, where is she? Or, what is she up to? Why isn't she answering my phone calls? Why doesn't she answer my emails? I think accessibility is so important. People need to know that you're working for them, but that you're willing to listen to them, whether that be through text message, through phone call, through email, through community meetings. I have conversations with Ale once a month where I sit at a coffee shop and people can literally come up to me. It's posted on my social media, so you'll know where I am and what time I'll be there. And it's open to whomever wants to come up to me to ask me questions. People need to know that I'm willing to hear them and answer them.
Yeah, and I'll just say, as far as this program, this radio show, I emailed you and you immediately agreed to come in, and I think that's part of your effort as well. So I do want our listeners to hear that. I think, also we were talking about integrity, trust, transparency. We had a question come in. I don't believe it was from District 1, but it was, when will the road projects whose contractors went bankrupt and left the projects unfinished accept new contract bids to be finished? So the way that was written is a little bit strange, but I think what the question is, or maybe you know what it's about, but I think what is happening is there's a road on the east side where the road project was left unfinished and the contractor disappeared. And so these kind of things happen in government. What can be done about it? What is your view on that?
Yeah. I don't know specifically what that question is referring to, so I don't want to comment on a specific contractor or not.
Of course.
But I do believe in accountability, which is another value, Andy, that I think is important. And I want people to hold me accountable, but I think others should be held accountable as well. It's something I strongly believe in. I would recommend to that person to just email my office, and we will move it to the right channels. District, and then the number 1 at elpasotexas.gov. Okay. Just ask us, and we'll get you an answer.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I love that, because, I totally understand. I don't know what this, I think I know what this specific project is. It's not even your district, but you're open to at least looking into it, having that conversation. So,
absolutely.
So love that. Also, I'm sorry, we have to go back to roads.
Let's
before
talk roads.
Before we get into business, we had someone write in, and they're just concerned with all this congestion around the city. Particularly with construction, what would happen? And I don't even know if you could speak into this, but what if we have to have a mass evacuation from El Paso? Is there a plan, or is there something that can be done with that?
Well, I don't think I-10 is closed always, right? I mean, and when it is closed, it's scheduled. And you can actually also visit my social media page, because we do post those things.
Okay.
So that people can, make plans ahead of time.
Right.
And I don't think, like I said, that they're closed for very long. So it's not going to be like a week at a time or a day. So I don't have the exact answer to that question, but again, we will find it for you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love that you're open to being in communication, answering those questions. So let's jump back to small business.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about how we're going to promote, encourage, support small businesses.
Yeah. So like I was mentioning, we're going to have, specific to District 1, a workshop for small businesses where we're going to bring people that can offer resources to these small businesses. One of the things that really affects businesses is their access to capital.
Okay.
That really is an issue when people are trying to grow or even just start a business, right? People need access to capital. So what does that look like, and what do they need so they can get that money to get started or to grow. Something else, attracting and retaining employees. That's so difficult right now in
Right.
the current market, you know,
Yeah.
and it's very competitive when, if you're a small business, if you're a local business and you're competing against, you know, Walmart and Starbucks and
Yeah.
other bigger companies that just have, you know, better benefits for others and,
Right.
and maybe better wages. And so what does that look like? And other resources just like that people are looking for, even if it's just answers to, you know, how do I organize my business, or what should I do about my payroll, or how do I pay my taxes? You know,
Right.
there's just so many questions. And I think as a small business owner myself for so many years, sometimes, you know, we're afraid to ask questions because we're afraid that people will judge us for what we don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the greatest things about being in business is finding those people that will not judge you and will mentor you through whatever it is that you need mentorship so that you can actually get to the other side.
So I love it. How can people become a part of whatever this program or training or is? Like, how to get connected?
Okay. Well, follow us on social media at Rep Chavez. We're
Okay.
going to be posting it there. You can also email us so that you can be on our newsletter, which we send every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So the word district, the number 1 at El Paso, Texas, spelled out TEXAS.gov.
Okay.
And you can, you know, get on our newsletter and you'll be informed about everything we're doing.
Yeah, and for those of you who are driving down I-10 right now, please do not write down any of that.
Yes.
Instead, tomorrow, go to kelpradio.com, and we'll have all of those links in the notes. Just look for 915 Talk in the latest episode, which is with Representative Chavez, and you will find all those links, and that'll be an easy way. So with this training, with this support for small business, it's a District 1 initiative.
Yes.
But what if I'm from a different district? Can
oh,
I?
yes, you can join.
I can join.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I represent District 1, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when I take a vote on the dais, I'm voting for my beloved city of El Paso.
Okay.
So, you know, supporting District 1 is and supporting others is just the same.
Love it. Okay. So this is I'm cracking up because we have we have another road question.
Okay.
Wrestler Road.
Yes.
What is going on with Wrestler Road?
I'm not sure what they're referring to, but I suspect
I
it's
know-
the Wrestler Connection Project.
100%. So for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, there's Trans Mountain Road. Most people in El Paso know that. And then there's Wrestler Road, which is a pretty major street in that part of town. And then it just abruptly ends at Trans Mountain. Is that right?
Yep.
And life would be just so much more beautiful here in the borderland if it continued past Trans Mountain from what my friends in that part of town tell me.
Yes.
Yeah. So how are you going to change
All
that,
right.
Representative
Yes,
Chavez?
Andy, thank you so much for bringing this to your listeners' attention
Yeah.
because this is a very, very important project. It's called the Wrestler Connect Project.
Okay.
In 2022, there was a community improvement bond that was passed that allocated about $20 million to this connection project.
Okay.
That was 2022. We are now in 2025.
Yes.
So it's in progress. They're doing soil samples right now.
Soil samples.
Yes.
If you need help, Kenny on the board and Mac Daddy Del Norte will help with that. They have experience with collecting soil samples, particularly with a $20 million project. I'll join. Anyway, please continue.
Look, I ran on this project because there is a neighborhood across from Trans Mountain.
Yes.
It's called Enchanted Hills.
Yes.
And they are trapped. This is a safety concern and it's a quality of life issue.
Yeah.
And so this needs to be addressed. I've been very vocal about it.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been told so far is that the completion of the project will take place in the summer of 2027. And I know that's still quite a bit of ways, but when it is completed, it will be beautiful. It will be a street, there will be a bridge, there will be sidewalks, there will be artwork.
Okay.
It will be very well done. If there is any possibility of that getting moved up, I'm not sure about it. I can't promise. But summer 2027 is what I have right now, and I will
For it to be
continue to
finished.
advocate for it. Yes,
For it to be
there's
finished,
a
yeah.
process. I will continue to advocate for that community because, as I mentioned, it is a safety concern.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the person who sent in that question lives in that community.
Yes.
What, Enchanted?
And I strongly recommend that they join the neighborhood association that is just newly formed
Okay.
in that community. they've also been very involved.
Okay, very good. All right, so we're going to totally switch gears here. And for those of you who are just joining us, we are with Representative Alejandra Chavez, District 1 rep here in El Paso, talking all things District 1, all things El Paso. And when we talk all things El Paso, we do need to talk about immigration.
Okay.
Now, I saw some of the things you said about that before the election.
Okay.
I think we live in a different world now than we did a few months ago.
Yes.
And it's the whole immigration issue, particularly on the federal level, is affecting a lot of El Paso families. I'll just ask, what do you think can be done, or what's your view on that? Just really open-ended.
So, the city of El Paso cannot enforce immigration. So our local police officers legally, by law, they cannot enforce immigration. So we have to leave that to the federal level for them to manage and take care of that. What do I think about the issue as a whole? I like I said, I think we're a loving community. I think we're a welcoming community.
Yeah.
I understand that this is an issue that people feel very strongly about.
Right.
And thankfully at a local level, we won't have to take a vote on it.
Right.
I'll say that.
Yeah,
But,
okay. Yeah.
I do think it needs to be addressed in terms, in terms of safety, and we've seen different reasons why it is an issue in terms of safety.
Right. Yeah. I remember I was visiting some friends on Montoya.
Yes.
That's part of your.
It is part of my district.
1.
Yes.
And it was a wild time. Lots of law enforcement coming through. Some new visitors to our nation running through. It was exciting.
And I will tell you that in District 1 specifically, that we have the state trooper chases. And I'm not trying to bring up something that's extremely controversial, but that is something that people in District 1 experience.
Let's bring up something controversial. Tell us about the chases. What do you think?
Well,
No, I mean, seriously, it's interesting to me because I live in Central, as I said. They blew right past my house with a helicopter a couple of weeks ago. It was exciting. I'll put it that way. So, what is the city's view on this?
I think there's two perspectives. And again, that's a federal decision. I mean, it's it has nothing to do with us here locally. It's nothing that city council voted on or decided on at all.
Yeah.
I understand that there's a need to make sure that, people, if they're here unlawfully, that needs to be addressed.
Right.
But there was also a death in District 1 because of these state trooper chases. Right. And so, we God forbid you be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right. Yeah. It's super complicated because we're here on the border. So like I said earlier, so we're kind of, I feel like we're stuck between the people of El Paso and the federal government on a lot of issues.
Yes.
And so, what can the city do to because we do need to protect our borders. It can't just be a free for all. I think everyone realizes that.
And there are people in District 1 that when I was campaigning and knocking on doors, I mean, and you have to understand El Paso is a big city and people live in very many different areas of El Paso. The people that live close to the border of New Mexico, by the desert,
right.
Many times when they're taking morning walks, they do find people, hiding in their neighborhoods. And to them, it's a safety concern. And it's my, obligation to make sure that I hear different perspectives.
Of course.
And respectfully, try to empathize with everybody's opinion about it. So that's my role as a city council representative to do that. That doesn't mean that I have any purview on the laws or the rules or regulations or how any of that's enforced.
Right.
That's not what I control.
So basically what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, the city does nothing and can do nothing on immigration. That's all state and federal?
That's all state and federal.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. So
until we're mandated to do otherwise, right?
Right.
Which, right now it has not happened.
Right. Okay. Do you see that coming?
I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah. We live in a different time where anything can happen. It's an exciting time to be alive.
But I do want to emphasize that I think people in general should know that El Paso is a safe city. I think, most people, if you ask them, they feel safe in El Paso, and they should, right? Because that's what we need to communicate. Our first responders do a great job in keeping our community safe to make sure our children and our families, feel comfortable doing whatever activity they want to do, whether it be day or night.
Right.
And we are a safe community. But I also think we need to emphasize that we're a friendly community and we're a welcoming community.
Right.
I think that's important to know. And I think a lot of people can testify to that, especially people who have moved here, that have been transferred here, because of Fort Bliss or whatever other reason. Everybody says the same thing.
Right. Yeah. No, I love it. And I think I at least partially understand all the tensions with your job with all these questions, but it is helpful for our listeners to hear your view on it, because even if the city doesn't have a say in this and doesn't really have, like you said, you don't have purview, it's interesting to hear your view on it, so I appreciate that. We're about to go into a break. Again, we want to thank Element 7 for helping us with our video feed today. Great people there, and they'll help out your small business, particularly if you need to do some marketing, some high quality video. You can check. This is their website, Element 7, the number 7, element7.xyz. element7.xyz. So you can check them out. You can check out the kind of videos they do. They make a lot of restaurant videos and other businesses, even like roofing companies, HVAC, and so on and so forth. So appreciate them doing that. We're going to go into a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the number one issue for all El Pasoans, the one that is most near and dear to our hearts, property taxes. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Are you looking for a Bible teaching church on the west side of El Paso? This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org. The Lord bless you, my friends. Hey, KLP listeners, this is Pastor Terry Gray of Calvary Chapel, Sun City on El Paso's west side. I want to invite you to join me at a new time at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday right here on KELP. If you're driving home at 5 p.m. or doing work around the house or getting your evening started, I invite you to join me as we go through the Bible, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. There is nothing more valuable than the Word of God, so let's invest our time in learning more about it together each day. That's our Bible study program, Summons, each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
And we're back. You are listening to 915 Talk. I am your host, Andy Fracca. Today we are with District 1 Representative Alejandra Chavez. And during the break, I just want to say that we do not get away from the hard-hitting issues here on 915 Talk. And just as we're putting our headphones on, she asked me a very difficult question. Where do we get the nicknames for our producers, Mac Daddy Del Norte and Kitty on the board? Where do we get those? She wants a nickname for 915 Talk. So,
Andy, can people send those suggestions to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yes, please come up with a radio nickname for Representative Alejandra Chavez.
What's yours, Andy?
What's my? Oh,
What's your nickname? Andy.
Yeah, so
According
Robert
to Bettis.
Yeah, Robert Bettis, the local meteorologist for Channel 9, was recently in. He's like, everyone has a nickname, and you're just Andy. So yeah, please go to KELP Radio on Facebook, and in that comment section, let's give a radio handle, a nickname for Representative Chavez. That would be wonderful. We got some feedback. That sounds great about the workshop. I assume that's for the small businesses. That's great. So before we went into break, Representative Chavez, I promise that we'll talk about the most important issue to all voters in El Paso. And I hope that in the next couple minutes you can fix the problem for all of us. Property taxes. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And what can be done?
That's the number one issue for voters is property taxes.
Yes.
So here's the deal. 70% of the taxes that the city collects comes from property owners. Only 30% come from commercial businesses. So we need to expand that commercial tax base to make it more equitable.
Okay.
That's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
It's going to take the right vision, the right mindset. And I always like to say in Spanish, and las ganas to really do it, right?
Las granas.
Las ganas.
Las granas. What's that mean, Mac Daddy Del Norte? Las granas.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to answer that.
Oh, las granas.
Las ganas.
Las ganas.
Las ganas.
Okay, yeah, that's why we have Mac Daddy. What's that in English? Las ganas.
It's
The guts.
the guts, the strength, the will.
The will, the strength. Okay.
The will to do it.
The will to do it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and that's why I'm doing that small business workshop. That's why we're driving economic growth in the city. Schneider Electric just announced that they're building another building in District 1. They're going to employ, at least 300 more people in the city of El Paso. They are the largest manufacturing footprint in our city.
Yeah.
Those types of initiatives, that type of growth is what we need to make that tax base more equitable.
And I mean, you said it won't happen quickly. When we're talking about that size of business, we're talking 10 years, 15 years, right? Like it's not in the near future. I mean, if we're going to be, I guess, honest about the situation.
Well, it could be sooner than that, hopefully, right? I think there's a lot of opportunity. UTEP has an advanced manufacturing and aerospace center that they're doing. So I think aerospace has a lot of possibility to establish themselves here in El Paso and really grow in that area. Healthcare is a big industry for us as well, where we can actually grow and potentially see a lot of job employments and economic growth. And so there are certain areas that we need to, really explore and advocate for, quite frankly,
Yeah.
and just, again, control the narrative of our city so people want to establish themselves here. We need companies to want to come to El Paso. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, Andy, infrastructure is big for that, right? When companies come to El Paso, they want to make sure that, their kids are going to go to the good schools, they're going to have the right healthcare system in place, our roads are going to be good, there's going to be entertainment, quality of life issues. So there's just, a lot of things that we have to look at to make sure that we continue to be an attractive city for companies to establish themselves in.
Yeah, I think entertainment and leisure are really important. I love a lot of what's happening downtown, but we need more of that so that, if someone has the choice between, let's be honest, El Paso or San Francisco, that there would be, a draw here for, as far as quality of life. What are some of the other things that can be done to draw people to El Paso?
So tourism is big. We were just recently named one of the best, art places, in the country. And I think downtown, like what you just mentioned, Daddy, is a great example of that. That Starlight Ceiling that we just opened is a great attraction. La Nube is also a great place for children and families to enjoy. And when you talk about, you just mentioned San Francisco, but I've always said, we don't even have to go that far. For those of us that grew up in El Paso, maybe had the experience of visiting, the nearby town of Tucson, Arizona. Tucson used to be, a small town in the desert with not much to do. And now when you visit Tucson, there's a lot of economic growth, and there are, just a lot of great things happening there. And so sometimes it feels like we might have been, left behind in some sense.
Right.
And we can catch up, and we can definitely get there. But it's going to take, again, that vision, that mindset, and the las ganas to get it done.
Yeah, I love it, and I like the idea that we don't need to be San Francisco immediately, but what is some of the incremental improvements that can be made? Representative Chavez, it seems like you're just a part of this radio program, and you always have been. I'm loving this conversation. So with that in mind, Kenny on the board, you there? Yeah, I think we're going to do a special part of the program that we haven't done in a while. Yeah, and it's a part of the program where I ask a question, and you just give the first answer that comes to your mind.
Okay.
And because we are faith-based radio, we do believe in right and wrong answers. However, because we're faith-based radio, we try not to be judgy if you're wrong. But we're not always good at that. But we're getting better.
Okay.
So without further ado, Kenny on the board. Let's cue up the lightning round. Yeah, so Representative Alejandra Chavez, this is the lightning round. First question. Red or, it's a culinary question. You're a chef.
Okay.
Yeah, red or green?
Red.
Oh, okay. And where's your favorite place in El Paso to answer that question?
To answer that question?
Yeah, which it's a place. We answer that question at restaurants, right?
Oh.
Red or green? Is your answer still red?
It's still red.
Okay, and where is your favorite place to answer that question?
Carnitas Querétaro.
Okay, that's District 1. I don't know that place.
You don't?
No, where is it?
It's actually in District 8,
Oh,
which
it's-
neighbors District 1, Kenny, because it's not below 2.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so next question. Yep. All right, next question. Let's say you have some friends visiting from out of town, and they have never been to El Paso before, and you really want to impress them. So you don't put them up at a Motel 6 like you normally would, but
Okay.
instead, like they're friends of your family, they're staying at your house. You really want to impress them with El Paso. Where's a place that you take them that's not a restaurant?
That's not a restaurant?
Yes.
Lost Dog Trail.
Lost Dog Trail.
Yes.
Tell me about Lost Dog Trail. That's the first time we've ever had that answer.
Yeah.
Kenny on the board, hit up the applause for a new answer. Yeah.
People in District 1 fought very hard for that trail.
Okay.
It's a conservation trail. It's beautiful. It's a place to hike. It's a place to find peace. It's a place to view the Franklin Mountains. It's a place to be in one with nature.
Okay.
I love it. I happen to find a lot of peace there.
Lost Dog Trail. I love it. Everyone just says Scenic Drive, so I like that you give a different answer.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's in District 1, by the way.
Okay, so again, you are a chef. Let's say your friends are also here in El Paso, and you went to Lost Dog Trail, and then you're coming back to your house for dinner. What would you like to cook for them that would just really impress them?
Oh, tortas de milanesa.
What is it?
It's a sandwich
Okay,
with milanesa.
what's that?
Milanese. You know, it's breaded, like a thin sliced beef, breaded.
A breaded thin sliced beef.
Yes.
Mac Daddy, you taking notes here? Yeah.
You have to
Yes,
get the
I
right
am.
bread.
Okay.
Telera is the right name of the bread.
Telera.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then what else is in it?
Lettuce, tomato.
Avocado.
Yes. Avocado. Mayo.
Limon.
Homemade salsa.
Mayo.
Oh.
Mayo. Yes, homemade salsa. And then the proper way of doing it is pressing it.
Okay.
So it's nice and crunchy on
Has
the
to be
outside.
flat,
That's right.
Okay.
crispy.
He's got it.
I love it. Yeah, Mac Daddy Del Norte knows his, what's it called again?
Torta de milanesa.
Yeah, I'm not even
Hey,
gonna
Mac
try to
Daddy,
remember.
how do
second
you know
favorite.
that? That doesn't sound like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Hey, my wife is Hispanic,
Yeah.
so she does good cooking, and menudo is my first one too.
Love
Oh,
it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So, next question. If there's one thing that you could change about El Paso by just snapping your fingers, what would that thing be?
More direct flights in and out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's part of economic development.
All right. And name 3 cities you'd love to have a direct flight to that we don't currently.
San Francisco.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Florence, Italy, direct flight.
Yeah, that's not happening. What about you, Andy?
Yeah. Direct flights. I like going to odd places, so I have never been to Ulaanbaatar, in Mongolia
Oh, okay.
or, places
But
like
that's
that.
not a direct flight, right?
No, I don't believe there's one from El Paso yet, direct, no. But it's cool. Like, somehow my whole Facebook feed is all about direct flights from Dallas to Fiji.
Oh.
But I think you're talking about just more major cities around the United States.
Well, I mean, I think that just goes for economic development.
Right.
So I love my city. I wouldn't change much about it, except that
Yeah.
we do need, to be a little bit better in certain things.
Yeah,
and that's one of them.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. final question, the lightning round. So I've been putting you on the spot. You're doing great. Most of our audience is faith-based, church-going. So I want to ask you, what would you like to see from the churches in El Paso?
In terms of inclusivity?
Perhaps.
Yeah. So I feel, and I've touched a little bit about this before, I really feel like there's a need to meet people where they are and to be respectful and to see people for who they are versus trying to mandate people to be something that they don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly believe that. I met a lot of different kind of people during my campaign trail. It was a humbling moment because I was knocking on doors, without any notice, and people were very welcoming. And I think for the most part, when you see people eye to eye, you'll find that you have a lot in common with them.
Yeah.
And I think that we just need to promote a little bit more about that.
Yes.
Inclusivity.
Get to know your neighbors.
Yes.
Get to know what they're going through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because many times neighbors don't know. I will tell you something that I did notice, Andy, and maybe this is a little bit more on a serious note.
Yeah.
We have a lot of elderly people in El Paso that, quite frankly, need a little bit more attention and love. For whatever reason, they might, not have a lot of family around or whatever the
Right.
case might be. Some of them have lost their spouses. So that's another big thing that I have in my mind, to make sure that we welcome those people and make them feel like they are still a vital part of our community.
Preach it, Representative Chavez. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things that I saw when I was knocking doors and promoting the financial benefits of renewable energy was how people don't even know their neighbors in El Paso. And I think that's a national American thing, maybe accentuated post-COVID, but get to know your neighbors, particularly your elderly neighbors. And, 50 years ago, it was normal just to bake a pie and take it next door and get to know them. And now it's just considered to be weird. So
building community is important to me. And that's why I also want to just promote right now that we are also having a community cookout for District 1 coming up.
Community cookout.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about community cookout.
We're going to be providing lunch. There's going to be a resource fair where people can come see, all the benefits of being a part of District 1 and the city of El Paso.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of great things there. We're going to have entertainment, and it's just going to be a great moment for people to see each other, get to know each other better, and to feel like they're an integral part of our society.
Love it. Love it. So we're now just in our last couple of minutes with Representative Alejandra Chavez, District 1 rep here in El Paso. Anything else you want to say about what we'll see in the coming years and your dreams for our city?
Well, what I would really love is for more people to get involved. I want more people to be a part of this journey with me. I want people, if they, for whatever reason, feel a little bit of apathy or, are discontent with the current situation of our city or our government or whatever the case might be, I want to welcome them. I want them to come on board with me. I want them to be a part of this with me. I don't know if I have all the answers all the time, but I will do my best to try to find it. So please reach out to me or my office.
Love it. And again, for those of you who are, interested in connecting with Representative Chavez, you can go to kelpradio.com tomorrow. Go to that 915 Talk link, and we'll have all the links for her social and so on so that you can connect with her in her office. She was very happy to come on to 915 Talk today. I think at least she agreed to come on it right away. So tell me, Representative Chavez, how was your experience here on 915 Talk?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming in. And again, to our listeners, I just want to challenge you not to just know what's going on nationally, but if you are a person of faith, let's get involved in our community that God has entrusted us with. Let's get to know our neighbors, and as Representative Chavez pointed out, let's, particularly our elderly neighbors, find out what's going on with them just in a simple way. Find out if they need any help around the house. We all have a few minutes that we can help out with. And tomorrow we're going to have Dr. Kalim from High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery with us, talking about some of the very interesting and, procedures that they're doing right here in El Paso that aren't available in most of the nation. And you were talking about healthcare being one of the ways that the city can be growing. And so we'll have someone in that sphere with us. Later on this week, we'll be with Pastor Terry Gray, studying the book of Philemon. So that'll be an interesting discussion. And then also a very fun conversation with Channel 9 meteorologist Robert Bettis. Always very fun to talk to him. We're going to be talking about karaoke and the end times. It's going to be super fun, but also there'll be some serious parts of that conversation. And again, thank you, Representative Chavez, for coming in today. And as we always say at the end of this program, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk.
You have been listening to 915 Talk on KELP Christian Radio. To listen to past recordings of 915 Talk, just visit KELPradio.com and click on the 915 Talk link. Until next time, love your neighbor, love your city, and give God all the glory.